Hello, I'm Malcolm Cox, and happy Friday to you. It's almost the weekend. Coffee. So, today we're going to talk about how to give feedback to a preacher. What's the best way to do that when you've heard a sermon or some other kind of talk? I vividly remember back in the 80s being at a church conference, and I heard the communion, and it touched my heart, and I worked my way down from the gods down to the front, and I went up to the speaker and I said, "Thanks very much for what you talked about. It really helped me." And he said, "Thank you. What was it that helped you?" And I was dumbstruck. I had this jet lag fog come over my brain, and I didn't know what to say, and I felt so embarrassed. I mumbled something inoffensive and wandered off, exit stage left, embarrassed and vowing never to speak to a preacher ever again. But this incident from my ancient history came back to me while I was reading an article from this magazine, Premier Christianity magazine. It's an article by Mike Ovey, and it covers how to get more out of sermons, how to listen well to a sermon, but it also talks about feedback. Feedback is not only helpful, but it's essential. I mean, I've learned not to trust my own judgment, whether I think I've just delivered a sermon of which the Apostle Paul might have been jealous, or whether I seemed in my own ears and eyes to have been inhabited by the spirit of Judas. Some of my best sermons have pleased only myself and a few people who's happened to share my sense of humour, whilst some of my worst sermons have helped people the most. At least, that's what they tell me. So, what is the best way to give feedback? Well, I have 3 suggestions for us today. Number 1. Pause before pronouncing. Pause before pronouncing. You might be excited or angry, indignant or ecstatic after you've heard a lesson, but before you rush over and open your mouth, just take a moment to collect your emotions and your thoughts and be clear on what you want to say. It's impossible to take back words once they're out. As James wrote in chapter 1 of James, everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, because anger, human anger, does not produce the righteousness that God desires. Number 1, pause before pronouncing. Number 2, why before what? Why before what? Motives are more important than material. Why you want to give feedback matters more than what you have to say. Are you trying to be genuinely helpful to the speaker, or are you trying to make yourself feel better? The advice to the Ephesians is relevant here, chapter 4. Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. Number 2. Why before what? And thirdly, scripture before style. Scripture before style. Feedback on structure and style and delivery are all relevant and helpful. But the most important and useful feedback is that which focuses on the use of scripture. Therefore, comments such as, "That point moved me because of the way you explained the verse, and that helped me to understand whatever it was." Or something like, "I've changed my mind about such a topic or something because of your teaching on this text." They're very helpful because they're focused on the scripture. A more sobering comment for the speaker might be something like, "If you had done this or that, the scripture would have touched me more." We need feedback that points out the positives, but we also need feedback that shows us how we could have done something better. But the best feedback, in my opinion, is the feedback that focuses on how we use the text. You see, we need to be kind and we need to be specific. That's the best feedback. Being kind without being specific is simply flattery, and being specific without being kind might be cruelty. So, let's put the 2 of those together. There's much more to say on this topic, but that will have to do for today. What are your thoughts? What makes for good feedback for a preacher? How, if you are a speaker, how do you accept it well? What do you say in response? What should your attitude be? Perhaps if you agree or disagree with the person giving you feedback. There's two sides to this topic. So if you've got any thoughts, please let me know by leaving a comment wherever you see or hear this recording, or you can email me, mccx@mac.com. That's mccx@mac.com. Until the next time, I hope you have a wonderful day, and God bless.